the anti-American sentiment ran very hot.
Really?
I was reminded of my childhood when people warned me all the time about Americans. Too loud, too rich, too happy, too confident, too direct, too honest.
Wait, this is... they are trying to insult Americans with this? Wait, no chance. So you guys are too loud? Okay, we may work on this a bit. Too rich? Amazing. Too happy? Too confident? Too direct? Too honest? I take all of that, my friend. If I was America, I would be saying, hell yeah, brother. Today I'll be reacting to why do British people look down on Americans? My friends, I'm really curious to take a look at this one. But before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. It's the best way to show support. Now, if you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Link for the original video in my description, and let's play it.
How do you feel the British perceive Americans?
Great question.
I feel like there's quite a lot of, I hate to say it, but mockery involved.
I think a lot of people think
Mockery.
Americans are extreme.
Do you think that the British think that they're better than Americans?
Nope.
I think some do, yeah.
There's a lot to
But
make
what?
fun of, I think.
Fish and chips? Oh my, I'm sorry, I should have not said that. Let's continue.
We're also fantastic at queuing as well. That's another great thing about us.
Rubbing me the wrong way because they're too extra. It doesn't seem like it's genuine.
Today, I'm in London to get to the bottom of a very important question. For as long as I can remember, I have had the sense that the British look down on Americans. This is a generalization, and therefore doesn't apply to everyone, but it's a strong enough trend that I felt I needed to investigate this further.
You know what, my friends? These type of videos are difficult for me to watch because at this point I love America so much that I struggle with this. And I apologize in the sense that I should be a bit more neutral when it comes to this type of stuff, but it's difficult. And honestly, maybe they got traumatized by George Washington. I'm not even joking, you know, because at the time what American did defeating the UK was quite impressive, right?
Here's a quote from Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, that perfectly
let's see it.
captures the feeling that I have about this. With some, the anti-American sentiment ran very hot.
Really?
I was reminded of my childhood when people warned me all the time about Americans. Too loud, too rich, too happy, too confident, too direct, too honest.
Wait, this is... they are trying to insult Americans with this? Wait, no chance. So you guys are too loud? Okay, we may work on this a bit. Too rich? Amazing. Too happy? Too confident? Too direct? Too honest? I take all of that, my friend. If I was America, I would be saying, hell yeah, brother.
Too loud, too rich, too happy, too confident, too direct, too honest.
Thank you.
I'm very curious what people are going to have to say about this. I have a feeling I'm onto something, okay? So, having said that, let's start talking to some people. Shooting a video for YouTube, could I ask you guys a question? It'll be really brief. You hate it? Okay, that's okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Not that easy today, huh?
No, it's not.
Well, but this guy is American, right?
If I could just get a moment.
I've got too much
We're
time.
off to a very slow start. That's okay. Let's just change up the spot because I'm feeling like there's enough projections in that 100-meter radius.
You know, I always feel really terrible that everyone's first attitude is, oh, you're from America, are you? Oh, okay.
Oh my god, I'm sorry, but I wasn't ready for this video. Real talk. My friends, if I meet someone from America here, I'm gonna say, oh, amazing, Texas, California. I'm sorry, this is crazy to me. I look at things quite different than the persons that are appearing, at least so far, you know. Let's run this part back. What the hell?
Terrible that everyone's first attitude is, oh, you're from America, are you? Oh, okay. You know, which is always a bit, you always feel a bit bad about that because I'm not entirely sure why we still do that, but you know. So.
How do you feel perceived as Americans by the British here in London?
Oh, American people, okay. Please say that you feel amazing and proud of your country and you don't care what the other guys think. I think this will be the best take.
A big, stupid, bellowing oaf. Really? Yeah, genuinely. I always feel like I have to apologize for being American. It's like, I know my accent's the worst thing you'll hear today, but can I...
Oh my god, okay, this girl, with all the respect, my friends, does not represent America very well. What? Never apologize for... Oh my, okay.
I just order a coffee.
My experience, I feel like, has been a little bit different. I think
Okay.
that might be somewhat informed by the fact that I'm a student here. At first, there was a bit of a learning curve. Like when I would speak loudly on the tube, I would kind of get looks, and people would tell me like, "You're being American."
It's okay.
Like maybe not.
There's definitely sort of a sense that there is a lot of difficult things going on
Yeah.
in America, and that America potentially could be quite a difficult place to live, especially if you're of colour or from the Middle East.
From the Middle East, my friends, in August or something, the UK was burning because of all the confrontation between immigrants from the Middle East and native, not native, I was about to say Native Americans, not Native Americans, basically the locals, you know. Oh my God, this lady is not totally there again, huh?
Going on.
And isn't America the most mixed country in the world when it comes to, you guys have Hispanic, white, black, you guys have a bit of everything, right? And that's what makes America so amazing, is the diversity. Oh my God.
Yeah.
In America, and that America potentially could be quite a difficult place to live, especially if you're of colour or from the Middle East.
I have to admit, the inspiration to make this video came when I moved to Europe. As I've explored in previous videos on this channel, many Europeans have mixed to negative views of Americans as dumb and uncultured. But to my surprise...
Okay, here I'm going to be very honest with you, my friends. There is a lot of stereotypes related with America, that's for sure. But I still think, you know, Portuguese people, Spanish people, French people look at Americans with quite more respect than what we are seeing here by the British. This is real talk, and if you are British, you disagree with me or something, I don't know. But yeah, there is stereotypes, but are kind of stereotypes that are okay, you know, nothing that crazy.
The same goes for the British. I've come to realize that the only people that see the British as intelligent and sophisticated are the Americans. Many Europeans, like the Portuguese or the Spanish, see a very different reality. The British that go off on holiday to get extremely drunk and break things. The British that are isolationist with Brexit. The British that don't learn foreign languages, that stick to their native tongue. Wait a second, I thought to myself.
See, but here this is true actually, but I also tend to not like this type of because stereotypes are really bad, and a lot of stereotypes they can come from ignorance. Ignorance a lot of times. I actually believe the UK is a great nation, and I'm being super honest.
Myself.
But seems like, you know, like everywhere there is people that are a bit off.
That's what Americans do. Other people do this as well.
How dare they copy us?
I kid, of course. Still, it does feel like the Brits act like the Americans of Europe, but I am certain that is not something that they'd like to hear said about them. I mean, no offense, I am American after all. Does that not prove my point though? No one wants to stoop to the level of Americans. I felt I had to get my answers directly from the source. My perception is that the UK is 1 foot in Europe, 1 foot like in the Americas. It feels like it should be in the middle of the Atlantic. Do you agree with that?
I think that's a pretty conclusive idea. But yeah, I think that's definitely true, because a lot of people wouldn't even class England as being in Europe. You know, even in England, when you talk about going to Europe, no one ever thinks you mean Doncaster. They always think you mean Germany. You do get some perception that everyone's some sort of like a Valley girl accent or something like that, and I think that annoys people quite a lot. But then again, it's the same way that English people are often perceived as all sort of being from London. The American dream, making yourself better and being seen to be self-improving, and it's a lot about earning money and being the best you can and going to the gym and all these kind of things.
Do you think that's, are you saying it's positive or negative?
I think it's a positive thing for Americans, but I think the way it's perceived is often everyone goes, oh, get out of my face, you know, because they probably, no one likes to enjoy someone else's success, at least in England anyway. I think
Wow, okay, this guy said something that is really, really interesting. Honestly, a lot of times, specific with stereotypes related with Americans, I think there is a lot of people that are jealous, and I always had this feeling even before starting this channel, and I think this guy is actually noticing that also.
No one likes to enjoy someone else's success, at least in England anyway. I think in America it's probably very different. Oh great, you got a promotion. Fucking bastards, you know.
The identity of being American is like such a thing.
Right.
That I don't think
other places have that as much.
I don't think people are necessarily dumb, and I don't think it's a question of being dumb. I think it's just that there's this idea of like, yeah, being the best. To think that like people in America, depending on where you're born, you can have access to care or not, it's frightening. And I don't know how you can speak about being the best when you can't even make sure that everybody's like taken care of. Are you treating everyone the same way in America? No, not everyone is treated the same way, just like not everyone is treated the same way in Europe.
Exactly. So she ended up contradicting herself right there, right? Of course, look, guys. Okay, real talk again. If you guys come to my country, you guys will find crazy rich people. And you guys will find people that are homeless. Maybe someone can... And I believe she was pointing also to maybe healthcare. But free healthcare, first of all, you pay a lot of taxes when you have free healthcare. And feel the way you went with that. But free healthcare also has a lot of problems. I'm not saying it's a bad thing because I actually enjoy that, to be quite frankly with you. But it's not perfect. Basically, it's kind of crazy that people just look at one side. She was criticizing Americans feeling the best. My friends, you guys have a lot of things to feel proud. I mean, real talk again. You guys are the number one economy in the world. You guys are the most innovative country in the world. You guys are the number one military. I think that's also something you should be very proud of. You guys are the most influential country in the world. You know what? Let's take a look, for example, at the top 100 companies in the world. Okay, my friends, let's take a look at this. So we have Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. What the hell they all have? Oh, USA, Saudi Arabia, USA, Taiwan, USA. Oh my God, does not stop. Denmark, China, USA, France, I think it's easy to understand why some Americans think they kind of are the best. I'm just putting this out. I mean, real talk, my friends. If all of this was Portuguese flags, oh, my ego. Even if I was not related with that, I would still be so proud. I'm still proud of my country, by the way, but you guys get the point.
Same way in America? No, not everyone is treated the same way, just like not everyone is treated the same way in Europe.
Okay.
Having been to America a lot, they often ask, obviously as a joke, but just like, do you know the royal family or anything like that?
So do you feel that generally, the big generalization, there's mockery towards the Americans and Americans towards the British is more like cute. We think you're cute.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah.
How do you feel about Americans thinking you're cute?
Well, it can be taken as a compliment, obviously, but if they think that we're, like, as a country, not really a force to be reckoned with, then just because we do all these, like, things that date back to long before the US was established, it's not really relevant that they can mock us for that.
Is it condescending, would you say?
A little bit.
Or ignorant?
More ignorant. It doesn't, like, hurt me. You know?
How do you feel Americans perceive the British, first of all?
They kind of look down on us.
You feel that?
I feel like Americans think like they're on the top of everything, and there's always competition between the two.
So do you feel like the British have a chip on their shoulder a little bit because of that?
Yeah, a lot.
What do you think the British are better at than Americans?
Being polite, really.
More polite?
Yeah. More talkative, more helpful.
More helpful? The British are more helpful?
Yeah, than Americans. But Americans are nice, they're funny, got good music.
Got good music, okay. Well, the British have good music too, man.
Americans are taking over the music scene.
But I mean, come on, there's a lot of great British music. So here's the thing that I think is going on here. We are not the same, the Brits and the Americans, but we sure have a lot of similarities. Compare us to the Japanese, or to Native Americans, or to Ethiopians, and the differences between Americans and the British seems relatively small. We're like blood.
That could be... I believe this could be a great argument. You guys are kind of like distant brothers or something.
Siblings in the village that is the globe. So here's what all of this started to make me think of. There's a concept in psychoanalysis. I'm going to read you the definition, but it's called the narcissism of small differences. This comes from Freud. The narcissism of small differences is the idea that the more a relationship or community shares commonalities, the more likely the people in it are to engage in interpersonal feuds and mutual ridicule because of hypersensitivity to minor differences perceived in each other. We see...
Okay, my friends, real talk again. I said real talk probably 100 times on this video. 99% of the people that watch me, 98% actually, I believe, are from America. I believe I have 1% from Canada, so shout out to my Canadians. But basically, my point is, most likely, if you are watching this, you are American. Well, friends, I don't have the idea that you guys care that much about the UK or Europe. Am I off on this? I really don't think Americans care that much. So, and this automatic shows some type of, they don't feel any type of complex, you know what I mean?
See this all over the world, between the Argentinians and the Chileans, for example, between the French and the Belgians. And indeed, I think this is what is happening between the Brits and the Americans. But at the end,
this happens here with Spain. Portuguese people, Spanish people, there is some type of tension, but nothing that crazy.
the day, I feel like we make the little things that make us different much bigger than they really are.
The way that we speak and the words that we use.
Yeah.
And again, we were talking about this, weren't we?
Yeah.
About
we were
certain
talking
words.
about things like autumn versus fall. And it's like that's often something that people like bring up. And for some, well, it's because it's a simpler word. And it's like, fall, American.
You guys don't say
classic.
fall?
No, we don't say fall. We
Oh,
say
interesting.
autumn.
Okay.
So this is autumn, not fall.
But you can.
To be fair here, I kind of like also, I like fall, but autumn is very similar to the Portuguese word outono. So kind of with the British here.
Say autumn as well.
Personally, when I come to the UK, I have the impression that I've come halfway across the Atlantic. I'm not just off the coast of continental Europe. And by that I mean, culturally, it feels so much more similar to the life that I had in the US. The convenience of life, the speed, the capitalism, the language.
Everyone speaks English. Everyone's like got the same sort of core values. I'm not necessarily a big Christian person at all, but we all come from this like Christian-based countries. America and Australia are English. There's some things that happen in history, but at the end of the day, we're kind of all the same group of people in that regard.
Culturally influenced.
Culturally influenced by the same group. So I personally don't see many differences at all.
I mean, I've got wonderful American friends who I adore. So that question for me is a difficult one because I think they're great, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
I think the difference...
Oh my God, I agree so much with that, honestly, because my experience with American people is the best.
It's in the way our language is, in the way we use different words. That's where there's a difference.
So pretty minor.
Yeah.
Do you think that sometimes some of the British media or the portion of the British population that looks down on Americans, is it a way to deflect some of the issues that exist here? And could that be said of all societies?
Yeah, you can say that of all societies, but you can also say that about the media. They're always distracting, aren't they, from topics, whatever it is.
America's seen as very alpha male, if you think about it in terms of masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
There's an alpha maleness to Americans. And maybe it's just the way they speak, the accent, but you don't really have that sense of Britain. I think there's a stereotype of the repressed male, that soft-spoken.
Considering we're like right on the edge of Europe, we have more in common with America in many ways than we do with the rest of Europe, which in theory is where we should be more aligned. And I think there's sort of something that can feel sort of slightly odd about that, you know, like with the whole Brexit thing, breaking away more from where we're most closely connected to and sort of being in a situation where, you know, we're going to end up with chlorinated chicken instead.
There's this tendency to think of Americans as just, you know, they're simplistic, really.
Are you like annoyed by the Americans here in
Sometimes.
I wouldn't say.
Depends how they are.
Now the interesting thing is I love to drag the US through the mud and criticize it for all the things that I think it deserves criticism for, but the second the Brits start criticizing me or the US, you have nothing to say. Kind of like I can criticize where I grew up, but you aren't allowed to. And the British,
this is, I also feel this.
in my opinion, are doing their version of the same thing, criticizing themselves to no end, but no one wants an outside opinion. Maybe we all do this. I think we all do this. It's like pointing at someone else's flooding house when your own house is on fire.
So I lived in America for 6 years. I lived in California, Alabama, and Oklahoma for 3 years. Everyone hears my accent and is like, oh, where in America are you from? I'm like, bro, I'm actually from Australia, but then they give me their little opinions on American stuff. So I've actually had to play defense a couple times since I've been out here.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious. Because they talk about guns or they talk about this, but they don't have like a very good understanding, not just English people, this is people around the world, even in Australia, of the history of America and why those things became what they were. People trying to, you know, throw rocks and then hide their hands.
Yeah.
They don't want the blame to be on them, so it's easy to put it on the big superpower that is on everyone's TV.
My perception.
I like that guy a lot. Oh my God, he ended up speaking facts right there.
I don't consider Americans necessarily lesser in terms of like lifestyle, culture per se. I just think it's a bit more apparent than it is in the UK, but the UK is just as problematic.
There's always sort of a sense in the past that like America was sort of, 2 decades ahead of what was happening in this country. There is a sense that we're getting closer in a time frame.
I would say younger generations tend to be a bit more, and the only word I can think of it is shameful of the heritage. I think it's a lot of things from like colonialization and things like that. There tends to be a lot more shame around it.
We're a small island, right? So we've got a small island mentality, but because we've got a small island...
I don't get the point of the green lady. What the hell was that comment about? Sorry, let's run this part back. Shame.
Was happening in this country. There is a sense that we're getting closer in a time frame.
I would say younger generations tend to be a bit more, and the only word I can think of it is shameful of the heritage. I think it's a lot of things.
Shameful of my heritage. Why? I mean, I love my heritage.
From like...
Tell me in the comments what is going on here.
Colonialization.
Because of the colonization, but I mean, that's history, basically. End up happening, sure. I mean, we evolve, we are better now, right?
Things like that. There tends to be a lot more shame around it.
We're a small island, right? So we've got a small island mentality, but because we've got a small island mentality, we've got to overcome it by kind of that impression that we're the best. And I think that's changing, though. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a total reflection of society now, but I think historically it has been, of course. Let's flip the question. How are Americans perceiving the British?
My answer to that is there is a power dynamic going on, and for better or for worse, the U.S. is much more of a world superpower right now. So I don't think that the U.S. feels threatened necessarily, like competitive with Great Britain. Because of that, I think there's kind of like they're cute. You know what I mean? Like they're Harry Potter and James Bond and sophisticated and. You know,
use words like autumn.
Exactly. But I also think that there's also a major degree of ignorance. Like the U.S. is so self-involved. We're not even paying attention to what's going on elsewhere in the world. So there's not even enough to form an opinion, you know? Now, this video was definitely supposed to be in good fun. I harbor no ill will towards the British. I find our rivalries as human beings across cultures, across nations, to be comical and interesting. It's like an insight into human psychology. And despite all of the, criticizing going on here, I'd like to end on a positive note. I'd like to express my appreciation for a few things that I think the British do better than Americans. Your healthcare system, for one. Also, the Premier League. They say football was invented.
Oh yeah, this I'm 100% with him. They are much better at football. Soccer, actually. Okay, let's continue.
In England, and if that is true, as someone with Argentinian background, I can only thank you. I also have to thank you for your incredible music. What a contribution to our collective heritage. It is a foreign idea
it's a great country
to have a royal family, but I respect the commitment to tradition.
I did move here the week that the Queen died, so it was really interesting to see. I think my first impression of like the British as a public was that of like mourning for their queen, the 14-hour-long line to go see her lying in state. So I think it was a little bit of a shock. This might sound silly, but how procedural the British can be. I noticed that tends to be like every British person I've met tends to be very procedural, as opposed to Americans. I think are a little bit more, like, dare I say, free-spirited or individualistic. So, I mean, I think that's not to say that one is better than the other.
And as a final note, we are obviously a world of individuals, and so stereotypes never fully work. Still, I find it so fascinating to explore the stereotypes and cliches that we have for one another. Not always, but often there is some sort of basis of truth there, or else they wouldn't spread and persist as they do. Anyway, having said all of that, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please consider liking it, which tells the algorithms to share this with more people. I thought it was fun, and it's a format I'd love to continue exploring. And also consider subscribing so that you can see more of the material that I make. With that, I hope to see you soon.
Okay, thank you, my friend. Why do Europeans dislike Americans so much? Should I watch that one, my friends? Wait, is life better in the USA? Oh my god, there is so much content here. A love story in Portugal. Oh my, okay. I may have to take a look at this channel. My friends, this one seems really interesting. No, actually, this one even seems better. Leave me the number 17 if I should watch this one. Is life better in the USA or Europe? An honest review. This could be really interesting, right? But yeah, thank you so much for watching this with me. This was a controversial video. Hope you guys understand that, of course, I have some bias for America at this point. It is what it is. I'm not even trying to hide. I try to be honest because that's what I feel, but I'm aware there is some bias. And you guys know, I love all of you. And yeah, it is what it is. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next one. Bye, my friends.